Hey everyone, it's Kong again, with another episode of Should You Summon? As always, I'll be presenting high-level overviews using these 4 criteria to help you decide whether this banner's worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. How these new characters fit into your team, whether they unlock any bonds, what kind of content they can get used for, and their future availability. So let's dive right into this new character raid-up banner featuring Licorice and Renata from the 3DS game Langrisser Reincarnation Tensei. This banner runs from July 30th to August 12th, and it's not a Destiny banner, so it's definitely possible to summon off-banner heroes even on your first SSR. First, let's talk about Licorice. Licorice is a blend of a support unit, pseudo-healer, and AoE caster. Unfortunately, her int is low, so even her AoE role is more for support or utility. Her talent has an interesting built-in terrain effect. Whenever she casts an AoE skill, every tile within the span of the skill gets a Breath of Life effect for up to 2 turns at 6 star. When a friendly unit lands on one of these tiles, it heals them and dispels a buff. That sounds cute, but she also has a 1-cost transformation skill that turns her into a twisted, dark version of herself, meant to represent her possession by ABYSSAL. When she's in this transformed state, her talent's terrain effect is reversed, instead causing damage and debuffs to enemies who land on affected tiles. To facilitate this painting the town red, she also has a large AoE 3-cost skill. It's a big 5-span burst centered on Licorice that heals allies within the zone and inflicts damage and debuffs on enemies. Naturally, this also covers a great deal of the map with her Breath of Darkness. This is why she would love to be brought up to 6 stars, so the terrain effect lasts for 2 turns instead of 1. She's a member of Dark Reincarnation, buffed by ABYSSAL and Licorice, Langrisser Reincarnation, buffed by Ares, and Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna and Shelfaniel. So she does carry a brand new faction buff for Dark Reincarnation. This one increases skill damage by 3% for each tick of cooldown that the skill has, up to a maximum of 20% for a skill with a cooldown of 7. Most big skills like Black Hole have a cooldown of 5, so you're usually going to be getting up to 15% bonus damage with this. For bonds, she unlocks the defensive bond for her bannermate Renata, and the attack bond for the upcoming support/healer unit Florentia. And for her own bonds, she needs Ares for her defensive bond, and Classic ABYSSAL for her attack bond. Now for content, in PvE she's on faction for Leviar in the Eternal Temple, and Nidhogg and Fenrir in Ancient Beckoning, and she should be useful enough for all 3 of them. I'd be interested in seeing how well she would work in either healing or damaging mode in Nidhogg's Slime phase. Of course, as a long-range magical unit, she could also be put to good use against the Ice Dragon. Outside of these modes, as a general-purpose PvE healer, she's probably not super impressive unless you're trying to do some dark-only theme team stuff. On the PvP side, she's a herald of the upcoming debuff meta. Her own debuffing abilities aren't necessarily overwhelming, with her initial 3C splash and terrain effects each only causing 1 debuff. But being able to lock down so much ground is definitely oppressive as far as positioning goes. When you combine her with other area debuff-focused characters, it adds up. Bringing another dark faction buff to the table also opens up some more options for your box. For availability, she's scheduled to come back on a raid-up banner with Akaya in late December. And let's move on to Renata. Renata's a dragon-type unit, the first one since Juglar's oft-neglected Bahamut class. Her whole gimmick revolves around this dragon seal mechanic that allows Renata to attack affected enemies through guard with boosted damage, and makes it so they can't move again or use passive skills. There are a couple ways of applying Dragon Seal. One is just to attack with her 2-cost Dragon Seal skill, but it'll also be applied to any enemy who attacks any ally in a ring around Renata. This method also boosts Renata's movement range. Dragon Seal also synergizes with her 3-cost skill, which is a big damage single target attack. If the enemy's not flying, Renata gets to attack first, and if the enemy's already affected by Dragon Seal, then she gets a self-revive buff for the next 2 turns. She's a member of Dark Reincarnation, buffed by ABYSSAL and Licorice, and Langrisser Reincarnation, buffed by Ares. For bonds, she doesn't roadblock any other character's bonds yet. but we don't know if she'll be important for some upcoming Reincarnation Tensei units in the future. For her own bonds, she needs her bannermate Licorice for her defensive bond, and she needs Akaya for her attack bond. Coincidentally, as I mentioned just a moment ago, both of these characters are coming back on a banner together in December. For content, in PvE she's on faction for Leviar and Fenrir, but I can't see her being super useful in those fights. Fenrir doesn't really attack your units, so Renata's not going to get free dragon seals on him. I'm sure someone who's really interested in her unique mechanics will find a good use for her, but she's not going to be a game changer that single-handedly opens up any content for you. PvP is kind of a similar story, to be honest. She can be a powerful, mobile, single-target striker who makes your enemies think twice about who they're attacking, but she's going to be kind of out of place in the AoE meta. And even in the long-leg single-target meta, her main benefits might not be as important as they look. She wants a friend to get attacked first, which means someone's probably dead or out of commission. Then she gets a damage perk against an enemy who's probably already crippled or gone. So her target options are either going to require some setup, or they're going to be completely dictated by your opponent, which puts you in a reactive position. On the bright side though, she does pack a big punch, but I just see more reliable choices competing for limited box space. Even tried and true characters like Yulia and the Knight of Mystery and Claret are fighting for box space now, so I just think that it'll be tough for Renata to get her foot in the door. For availability, she's not appearing on the schedule right now, anytime through mid-January. So if that wasn't already quick enough, here's the quick summary. Licorice is a support and utility character with oppressive terrain effects. She carries a new faction buff for Dark Reincarnation, and she unlocks the defensive bond for Renata and the attack bond for Florentia. Renata is an almost unique dragon-type unit, and she gets perks against enemies who attack her friends. And as usual, here's a reminder about upcoming banners. Next week we're getting a small focus banner featuring Akaya and Emilia. We did recently learn that Akaya is getting her unique weapon in December, so if you're thinking about building her or you want to add her to the box, that might be a decent opportunity. Otherwise, as I mentioned, Akaya will be coming back in December on a banner with Licorice. The 2 weeks following that one are catch-up Destiny banners, the first featuring Listel, Lambda, and Brenda, and the second featuring Bozel, Liana, and Luna. That second one is a fundamental building blocks banner, so if you're missing any of those units, particularly as a new player, it'll be nice to be able to fire off a couple summons and see who you can get. Following that little string, we have the much anticipated launch of the next crossover heroes from The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel, Reen and Arianrod. They're both very powerful, but Reen in particular is a meta-shifting PvP character who brings some oppressive, debuffing AoEs to the mix. Licorice is just a preview, Reen is the main event. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments if you had any luck summoning on this banner, or if you're holding out and saving for something in the future. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon.